Hi everyone, I'm Pocketful of Posies and welcome back to my doll making. So last year, you may remember that I made Female Robin from Fire Emblem Awakening. However, when making the video, I kind of accidentally deleted the footage. But I ended up doing a partial custom with Corrin here last summer to make up for it somewhat. But with this video, I can now have a proper Fire Emblem custom on this channel with Lucina. So, let's get started! When choosing the base, I was looking at some sketches by Yusuke Kozaki, which show Lucina to be a bit short. I liked that idea, so I decided to go with a 25cm Obitsu body with a Hasbro Rapunzel head. When doing customs of existing characters, I like to look up some cosplay resources to get some ideas on how to go about it. Sometimes I like to think of customizing as cosplay on a much smaller scale. The thing to keep in mind is that since dolls are on a much smaller scale, some costume making process that works on a normal human size may get too bulky on them, so some simplification of these are going to be necessary. There's a Tumblr blog that has a nice breakdown of Lucina's costume that was the main source of inspiration for this project. The problem with using Velcro for doll clothes is that oftentimes many store-bought ones may be too thick and heavy. But I found this Etsy shop called I Sew for Doll, which sold some ultra-thin hook and loop tape that works really nice on dolls. The boots were made from the same fabric used for the tunic, with elastic thread to help get them on easier. I also employed paper mache and clay to get the general shape. Sadly, the first attempt got too messy, so I had to do it 2 more times before I was happy with the result. When I made the cape, I used some hidden stitches to simulate folds without making it look too bulky. When I made the belts, I cut a piece of leather into strips, and used air-dry clay to make the buckles. This led to a big first for me, as I learned how to use a rotary tool to sand down and refine the sculpting. Then when putting it all together, the leather turned out to be too thick and heavy. So I ended up switching that out for some suede, and it worked a lot better. At this point, I decided to start on the face-up. First, I used pure acetone to remove the face, and 3 layers of Mr. Super Clear. As always, I start with applying some blushing. Afterwards, I started to sketch the eye shape. It was going well, but then I realized this Rapunzel head has a smirk on it, which I don't feel suits Lucina very well. So this ended up becoming another first for me, a mouth mod. Then came another big first for me, airbrushing. I went into my garage to do this, so the lighting is unfortunately rather poor. I spray some primer on first, and then the closest paint color I have to the body I'm going with. Now that that's done, I can get back to the face-up proper. While I'm showing the face-up, I'd like to take some time to talk a bit if you don't mind. As you can see in this video, this custom became very complex very quickly, so it'd probably come to no surprise that this project ended up taking quite a while. My original goal for this year was to be able to do one custom a month. Thing is, though, I tend to work very slowly, and I feel it wouldn't be right if I rushed my art. I keep trying to remind myself of this because it does get frustrating that I can't produce as fast as I'd like. It's especially important to remember when you're branching out with new techniques for the first time. Even now, if you look closely, the epoxy mod didn't turn out as smooth as I wanted, and now I realize how I could have done it better. The good news is, since I don't plan on selling this doll, I don't have to worry about what a potential customer would think of it. I just have to learn from my experiments, and now that I know that I can do it, I can figure out how to get better at it. Anyway, the big thing about Lucina's face is that she has the brand of the Exalt in her left eye. When I was doing the face-up, I was attempting to make it a teeny bit noticeable, yet subtle at the same time, if that makes any sense. To finish up, I use paint to make eye catches, and varnish to give the eyes and lips some shine. After the face-up is done, I made this yarn wig off screen and stuck it on with some strategic pins. Now for the tiara, I'm going to try this foam clay sample I got from Arta Wigs. I thought it would be best to keep the tiara more flexible to put it on easier. Now I'm going to make the rest of the accessories with paper clay. A very important thing to note about paper clay is that it will start to dry the moment you open the package, so it's best to keep it airtight in a plastic bag with a damp paper towel to preserve it so it's not too difficult to work with. The shoulder pads were made with 2 pieces that I glued together. Once it's dry, I take the time to sand it down to look smooth. I also tried to sand this foam clay, but it turned out rather flaky, so I wouldn't really recommend it. I used 3D paint to get these small details that you just can't do with clay. It doesn't need to be color accurate because we'll be painting it over afterwards. Once everything's dry, I use a black paint as a primer before going on to the main colors. Afterwards, I use a X-Acto knife to simulate some scrapes on the armor. Finally, I used some watered-down acrylic paint to make it look a bit more worn and detailed. I sealed it up afterwards with varnish to keep the paint all together. The shoulder pads were given elastic bands, and the brooch had snaps to keep them on the doll. Finally, I made a parallel falchion out of paper clay to finish the project. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to see more works. I also have an Instagram account at PocketFulOfPosies6052. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you for my next video. Bye!